What have Ronald Reagan's personal witch, J.R.R. Tolkien, the Queen of England's grandmother, and the Moors murderers got in common? Welcome to the Saturday morning seance. Let's ramble on. Also, a big thank you to Thomas Sheridan and Sarah Mondaini for featuring us on their show Hocus Focus. Check out their show and the links are in the description. Situated between the three shires, Staffordshire, Cheshire and Derbyshire, is the spectacularly atmospheric outcropping of Millstone Grit, which is known locally as the Roaches. Lying in what is now the Peak District National Park, this expanse of rock lies above the mill town of Leek and can be found on the A53 Buxton Road. The three distinct outcroppings formed by the Roaches, Hen Cloud and Ramshaw rocks are the foreboding backdrop for many tales, mythologies and folkloric events that go back into the annals of history. Each of the escarpments has its own particular character and energy. Both the Roaches and Hen Cloud are exhilarating places. The Roaches have a warm, enveloping feel. Hen Cloud a vibrant and triumphant energy, and Ramshaw rocks a darker and much more elusive energy to describe. On approach, the gothically dramatic moorland with its jutting escarpments has attracted walkers, climbers and tourists over the last couple of centuries. Even royalty have graced the area. In 1872, the Prince and Princess Mary of Teck, the late Elizabeth II's grandmother, visited the Roaches, and even a throne was carved out of the gritstone to commemorate the visit. In 1916, J.R.R. Tolkien, who was stationed at an army barracks in the nearby Cannock Chase to the south, took much inspiration from the area when constructing the mythologies of Middle-earth, and upon visiting the area it is clear to see where he gained some of that inspiration. Another literary notable, inspired by the environment here, was the anonymous author of one of the greatest poems in the English language, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. It is held by both amateurs and literary academics that the dialect is written in and closely resembles that of North Staffordshire, in particular the nearby vicinity of Leek, where much of the dialect is still evident in the speech of the locals. The spectacular chasm of Lud's Church has been identified as the setting of the Green Chapel, where Gawain encounters the Green Knight at the end of his eventful year-long challenge. As well as literary connections, the location has been host to guests who are some of the 20th century's most notorious headline makers. From the nearby village of Cheddleton, the famous witch and TV personality Sybil Leek, who went on to become Ronald and Nancy Reagan's spiritual advisor and astrologer, was supposedly deflowered in a sex magic ritual at Ramshaw Rocks by none other than the self-proclaimed wickedest man in the world, Aleister Crowley. And the mythology, endorsed by Sybil Leek, suggests that the hexagram there was supposedly carved into the rocks to commemorate this very event. True or not, this site has been a magnet for occultists and tourists of a darker hue for a long time. Moving towards the summit of Ramshaw Rocks past the many rock simulacra apparent in the weather-beaten eroded boulders is a spot where two of the 20th century's most notorious killers stopped for a picnic. Ian Brady and Myra Hindley paused here for a while, photographing each other. Now, was this to immortalise a day trip, or was it for darker, much darker reasons? Was this to reconnoitre for possible grave sites? Was this image of Brady pointed to something or somewhere in the landscape? The summit of Ramshaw Rocks culminates a few yards on with a large boulder called the Serpent Stone. This naturally occurring boulder has been augmented by human hands and a large eye and nostrils chipped into its surface, which is thought to be of a Bronze Age date. From the air, the entirety of the outcropping can be imagined as a serpent, the tail of which emerges from the chasm of Ludge Church, with the head being at the apex of Ramshaw Rocks looking towards the northeast, and possibly the winter sunrise on the solstice. Whatever the reason to visit, the whole area is full of enchantment and magic. It has a dark romanticism. The energies and the mood of the place change with each footfall, and all who visit, I'm sure, will have their consciousness changed in some way.